The best watch from Tiffany & Co. is not the 5711-1A. That's not even from Tiffany. This one is. When I first got into watches back in 2018, I had a watch Instagram account, just like many of us did. And I followed this Japanese guy. His handle was ken_n.br. He was a collector from Japan and he often posted wrist shots with his food right beside him. And I remember back then, he would always post this Tiffany & Co. square watch that was the only one that I've ever seen. Most of the time on Instagram, when I'm scrolling, I just see a bunch of Rolexes, Submariners, Daytonas, Pateks, Black Bays, whatever. And his account really stood out to me because he was the only person that, albeit having a really cool collection, like he had Laureatos and like a lot of other stuff in there that's very high end, definitely north of $10,000 Canadian. But in the midst of all of that, he had this Tiffany & Co. watch. And that sort of helped legitimize the brand for me and made me curious, like, wow, this watch must have had a history. Maybe he was gifted it from his significant other, or it maybe just meant a lot to him for him to want to showcase the watch this much. Like he does post it a lot. And that thought kind of lingered there, but then stayed there. And I never really explored the Tiffany & Co. watches all that much until now. Last week, when I went to Tiffany & Co. for Valentine's Day and had a chat with the sales rep, like I said in my previous video, I then started doing more research on the Tiffany & Co.'s line of watches. And what I found was that watch that Ken always showcased was the Tiffany Square reference number 63182680. And now I'm realizing that it is the best watch that Tiffany & Co. has ever made. Okay, maybe not ever made, because I'm sure they had some pretty nice vintage stuff in the past from like way before I was born. I'm not really going to talk about those because that's a rabbit hole that I haven't yet explored, but I'll just call this the best modern Tiffany & Co. watch because it was made in 2017 for Tiffany & Co.'s 180th anniversary. The brand was founded back in 1837. Wow, that's a long time ago. It was founded back in 1837, and during their 180th anniversary, they came out with two watches. There was the stainless steel one. This is the one that I'm talking about, the 6318 2680. Just that double check. As well as they came out with a solid gold one. That one was a lot more expensive. I think it retailed for around $18,000, while the stainless steel one retailed for $5,500. I was not able to find the official website for either of these watches. Tiffany & Co. has long since taken it down from their websites from all across the world. I checked the Canadian one, the US one, the Chinese one, the Japanese one, French one, international. It's all gone. It's all taken down. And you know, I have a very particular interest of trying to dig into the history of watches. So the fact that Tiffany & Co. isn't a very celebrated watch brand in the current market today, and even they don't seem to care all that much about their current lineup and history when it comes to making watches, just really makes me want to dive into the brand more and learn about it more. Over these last couple of days, I spent a combined like 2-3 hours just researching the Tiffany brand and also this Tiffany Square watch. I actually wasn't able to find the exact reference number until way later in my search, and it seemed like a lot of these websites that feature the reference number were Japanese websites. So maybe there's like a different reference number that they use in the North American market. I know there's a reference number for the Chinese market as well, which is very interesting. Like I'm not sure if these are reference numbers or product codes for Tiffany. But the 6318, like it's a really long number, 63182680, I think. I'll just call it the Tiffany Stainless Steel Square. It's a 27mm width watch by 35.8 lug to lug, and it is also only 6.9mm thin. It is using what Tiffany & Co. likes to call their proprietary in-house movement. It is a form movement, meaning that it is a movement shaped to the size of the case, so it is completely square. Tiffany & Co. calls it the TCO 1874M caliber, M as in manual line, but it is actually based off the ETA Pezou 7001 movement, which is also used by big brands like Blancpain, which I'm sure they're not super proud of it. But yeah, nevertheless, it is a very good looking movement. It has nice bridges, it has nice nice perlage and finishes, and it also has the Tiffany & Co stamp on it. Overall, I feel like the watch is just very attractive, even though it is a little bit on the smaller size. I think if you're in the market looking for a Cartier tank or even a reverso, this watch would probably go right along in that bracket of consideration that you might think about. The watch has got a power reserve of 42 hours and a water resistance level of 50 meters, which is typical. It's along the lines of those Grand Seiko Elegance dress watches, and I would say there's splash resistance. You're obviously not going to dive with a watch like this, but it should be able to take you day to day through your everyday wear. The watch features a very traditional dial, which Tiffany & Co calls it a homage to their 1920 line, which was the exact same case size and dimensions. The watch has super luminova applied to both the cathedral hands and the Arabic number indices on the dial. Despite how hard it was for me to find any information about this watch, I was able to get a few websites out in Japan and translate them into English to get more details on the dimensions, reference numbers, everything like that about this watch. Also, it seems like the Chinese website still has this watch live on their site, and it's just very interesting how these websites that has different regions and languages might not update everything all at once. The fact that this watch was released back from 2017 just means they probably haven't touched their websites in a while. They haven't like hit pages from the public's view. And this is the description that they have on the site, translated through Google Translate. It says, "This Tiffany Square Series limited edition stainless steel watch is inspired by a 27mm square case from the 1920s. It is designed, built, and produced by Tiffany Watch Masters in Switzerland. This watch is limited to 450 pieces. It has a unique square manual winding movement and a white satin sunburst dial. It is matched with silver frosted effect numerals and has a sophisticated and modern temperament." Great. A lot of marketing speak, but I am a fan of the silver frosted numerals that it has on the dial. The reason why I say this is Tiffany & Co.'s best modern watch is because of all these factors. The fact that it has a manual movement that they can call kind of their in-house, even though it's not really, but it's very well decorated compared to like the East-West line, the CT60 line, which just uses like a standard ETA with a little bit of decorations here and there. Just makes the Tiffany & Co. Square that much more interesting. It was also a very limited production run, with the stainless steel variant coming out with only 450 pieces and the solar gold one coming out with 180 pieces. And throughout my research, I've been trying to find a listing online that sells this watch. And I'm happy to say after I found the reference number of this watch, I was able to find a listing on eBay. Of course, the seller is from Japan and it's currently selling for just about MSRP. So would I buy this watch? I don't think so. I think if I was to go for a square or rectangular watch, I would just go for the JLC reversal, as that is the end-all be-all of non-circular watches for me. However, that's not to say that Tiffany & Co. shouldn't continue to innovate and maybe put this movement towards a slightly bigger case instead. I think anything north of 30 millimeters in width will be perfect, and definitely a little bit longer lug to lug would be even better. And I really look forward to what they come out with later this year if they decide to reuse this movement. I'll put up as many pictures as I can of this watch that I find online. Unfortunately, I was not able to get hands-on with this Tiffany Square because of how rare it is and probably not many here in Canada. But let me know what you guys think of this watch. I definitely think that this is probably one of the best watches that Tiffany & Co. has made in modern times. And I just hope that the watch that they come out with this year will also utilize this manual winding movement. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.